Thank you so much, and hello from me as well. My name is Heleriin. Thank you. And the topic I want to share with you today is about an experiment that we did with our recruitment team. As the headline says, we split the team. My team used to be a very traditional end-to-end recruiters or full-cycle recruiters, however you like to say. But from the beginning of this year, for 6 months, initially 6 months, we experimented with the team setup where we had both sourcing and recruiting function. But before I go into this, and what I'm going to tell you about this is why we decided to do it, how it went, and what were actually the results of the experiment, and also what I learned from it. Before I go to it, a little bit about myself. So yes, this is me, and today I'm working in Nortal. I'm responsible for the talent acquisition function, and mostly my team covers the Baltics and Nordics region from recruitment's perspective. But before joining Nortal, I've also kickstarted 2 recruitment agencies. One of them I co-founded myself, and I was also part of co-founding a technology startup that is called Talent Atlas, that is about matching talents with jobs. So all in all, I think what sums it up about me is that I'm passionate about 3 things. So of course recruitment, then building stuff. It can be building teams, it can be building a system, and psychology. So psychology of people, psychology of organizations and teams. And this is also connected to perhaps how we did the split. So a lot of methodology is influenced by my personal approach to work and team leading. But enough about myself. So a little bit also about the company where I work in. So I'm sure that not everyone knows Nortal, but Nortal is actually also from Estonia. It was founded on the year 2000. And from the beginning, it was operating as a software house, but also from the beginning, the idea behind it was to create big impact through clever technology. And that's why our vision today is also to create the seamless society. The society where you don't have to waste your time on some paperwork or whatever. It all should be seamless. So you can spend time with your family, with your friends, with doing quality things. And today, 19 years later, Nortal has 850 employees in 10 different offices. Our revenue last year was over 66 million. And we are doing projects in Africa, Middle East, Europe, and United States. Now, what are the projects that we're doing? A little bit about that. So we have expertise in several fields, for example, e-government field. If you guys who know Estonia, you probably know that it's sometimes called e-Estonia because you can pretty much do everything online there. So you can vote online, you can do your taxes online, and about 40% of the digital disruption that Estonia went through was done by Nortal. So this is one of our expertise. We have also helped changing how governments work in Oman and Botswana by today. And some other fields where we work is e-health, also enterprise field. For example, we have large telecom customers, e-commerce customers, and industry, but these are only few. And the service that we provide is not only software development, it's also consulting, so strategic consulting, how to do things, Then we develop those things, and then we help to implement those things. And back to recruitment. Also, this is my team today. So they are located in 3 different places, in Tallinn, in Helsinki, and in Vilnius. And like I said, we mostly cover recruitments also in these regions. But what it means to recruit in these regions and in this sector, technology sector. So I brought out some challenges that we face every day. For once, of course, the hiring developers is, I think, everywhere very, very challenging, and the market is very competitive. So this is something we face every day. Since we have a lot of government institutions as our customers, it also means that our target talent group is a lot of times local. And if you're thinking that, for example, in Estonia, there's like less than 1.5 million people, and of course even less developers, then it's like very small pool of candidates can be. The consultancy business also means that when we have projects starting, we need to build up the teams really fast. And in the same time, when the projects are ending, we have internal movements. So when one day we can have 30 open roles in recruitment, the next day we might fill those positions with internal people, and suddenly our priorities are totally changed. So a lot of changing, moving pieces in the process. And I'm finally getting now to the split part, because in the end of 2018, so a year ago, we started thinking about the split. It was, for our team, it was a very tough year. For the company, it was a pretty good year. Because last year, from the beginning of the year, we had a lot of new customers. So it meant a lot of new projects starting. It meant a lot of recruitments. Also, our existing teams were growing a lot. Also, a lot of recruitments. And in the same time, since I started in Nortal in the end of 2017, so not long ago, I was still building up my own team. So we were hiring recruiters. There were not that many of us then when it is now and that you see on the picture. So the thing was that the situation, to illustrate it, I brought out some facts and figures. For us to hire a developer, it meant, for example, in the Estonian market, that you have to source 100 leads at least. So we don't have applicants, and at least not good ones, even though we have a very good brand in Estonia. And you have about 5 interviews from those, and from that you have 1 hire. Also, last year, like, we were counting every week like how many openings we have. I also bring out the Estonian example because we had the most pain in Estonia. And in 1 week it was 30 urgent openings. So it meant by then that it was 12 openings per recruiter. They were all urgent, so pretty much it was mission impossible. Also, what we are counting is offer acceptance rate, which I have not seen it as low as it was then. So 53% of our offers were accepted. Today it's around 67 to 69%. And we could be even better, always. And obviously the demand of the business was bigger than we could deliver. To be specific, we needed 3 times more developers than we hired then. And now, so we knew that we need to change something. We needed to do something that had big impact. So we started from defining the things that we need to change. First thing was that with this high workload of recruiters, there were, of course, time management problems, and workload issues cause stress. So if they need to juggle between all those tasks that recruiter do, so starting from sourcing to reach outs, interviews, communicating with hiring managers, communicating with your candidates, and then juggling between different roles, it's a lot. So obviously we needed some kind of structure, a better structure, because when you have structure, you have focus. When you have, yes, focus is good. Focus is the word. The second thing we needed to change is that we figured that, okay, if we start from scratch every time when we start recruiting, so it's going to take like 2 to 4 months to fill up a developer role. So we should do something in advance before we actually start recruiting, or before the role opens up. What we can do is, when you have standard roles in your company, like a developer, you can actually do the pre-work of sourcing and building the pipelines. But we didn't have time for that in that point. But it was something that we needed to change. The fourth thing, obviously the stakeholders are not happy if we are not delivering, because their clients are not happy, because they don't have enough people to build the system that they need. So we need to hire faster. To hire faster, how we do that? We need more leads, we need more reach outs, we need more interviews, and we need more offers accepted. And the fourth thing was about the team, mostly. So they were doing all those parts in recruitment, from sourcing to closing the contract. They were trying to do a good job. But what we should have been focusing, and what we knew that we need to focus, is on these people's strengths. So some of them were actually really good at sourcing, and some of them were really good at interviewing, but they couldn't develop these skills because they needed to do everything good. So our solution, because we had tried everything almost. We tried different referral programs, we tried employer branding, we hadn't tried the split. So we thought that why not? But the problem with that was that, of course, none of us had worked in a team where recruitment and sourcing functions are separately. We had all worked as end-to-end recruiters, and we didn't know any companies who had gone through the split. So we needed to figure it out first, how to do it. It meant, I'm not sure how many, but it meant a lot of brainstorming sessions. So this is just to illustrate that we came together, we thought together, we did it with the team, and we tried to understand, like, what is one role doing? What is the sourcer going to do? What is the recruiter going to do? Where is the line going to go between those two roles? Because it can go different ways. And like, how are we going to divide the open roles we have today? So I didn't want to do it alone. I don't think that, like, being as a team manager, like, I'm not the smartest. I think, like, we, together with the team, we can have the best ideas. So that was first thing. And of course, like, when we were figuring things out, we had few question marks. Like all the teams that are probably considering, like, should we go into two functions or should we not? So what were our concerns was first the candidate experience. Like, if you're an end-to-end recruiter, you are handling the whole communication. You are contacting the candidate, you are until closing, so you have time to build the trust. But if we are now having sourcers, does it mean that the sourcer will contact them and then the recruiter will take over, so there will be several people? And so we didn't like that. We thought that no, that it has to be one person. So one thing that we agreed that, okay, the full candidate communication will be done by a recruiter. we didn't know what it's going to mean, but that was the thought at the time, to build the trust, to have better candidate experience, and have bigger chance to closing the candidate in the end. So another question mark for us was like, if you're not handling the whole process as the recruiter, will you still have the full understanding of the role if you're not either sourcing the role or not interviewing the candidates? So what we agreed on first with sourcers, we agreed that sourcers need to be included in all the checkpoints with the hiring manager. So definitely they need to be present in the briefing meetings, and they need to be part of the weekly check-in meetings, so that they would have the first-hand information all the time and wouldn't lose anything in the process. With the recruiters, so if they don't source the role, like how can they actually have a market overview? So what we agreed on, again, is that all the recruiters need to know how to source and need to be part of some sourcing at least. Since our sourcers now have sourcing boosts, this is this intense time period that they take just for sourcing, it is something that recruiters can also take part of. And also we agreed that sourcers will do trainings and regular updates to the recruiters, if there are new hacks or tools or something they've learned. And the third concern were, for us, since we were very close as a team, are we still one team? There will be two functions, how will it work? A little identity crisis. But we figured out that if for every role, you're now going to have a sourcer and a recruiter, because when you're doing end-to-end, it's you're doing everything alone, actually, but working with the hiring manager. But now you are constantly working in pairs. So it actually means more cooperation, which seemed yes, it's good. So now that we had established how we're going to do it, we needed to make some rules. We agreed that we're going to try it out for 6 months. So this is for reassuring for us and for the organization that we are doing actually things that work, that improve something, that we're not just doing something just for doing because it's cool or I don't know. So we're going to try it out, and if it's not going to work, we can go back to our old ways. So no harm done. We agreed that we will review the setup in our monthly retrospectives that we have anyway, where we see how have we done and how are we moving forward. And we agreed that after 3 months, we will review how we have done more deeply. And also agree how we will continue in 6 months. So in 3 months' time, we should have pretty good overview already, is it working or not? So we did it from 1st of January this year. What changed? Sorry? Okay. First thing we did is, since we needed more communication, like I said, our team is in 3 different locations, we implemented daily stand-ups. Before that, we had once a week meeting on Monday. So we needed to have quick overview of everyone's priorities, progress, and blockers. So when, for example, you don't have enough interviews as a recruiter, the sourcer can jump in and help right away. So more frequent communication was one thing. And here you can see a picture of a planner that we also implemented. It's kind of like Trello, if you know Trello. Just since we're a Microsoft company, it was better for us to use Planner. So a task management system. And actually the recruiters really liked it. It especially if you're a recruiter and you have to juggle all the time, it's good to have a task management system. And if you don't have it personally, at least the team has it then. And I lost the picture. No, I got it back. The second thing is, like I said, that we needed pipelines. We now focused more on building the pipelines before we had an open role. So we divided who's going to do what. So we had Ave and Anett. They divided like who will build which pipeline, and when an open role is, or new recruitment is coming in, they just can take already sourced leads under the job. So pretty much the recruiter can start reaching out right away. What I mean by pipelines now is pretty much the sourced leads, and talent pools, on the other hand, was something that now recruiters could started focusing more of. So already the talents that we know are good, that we have maybe interviewed, we in our applicant tracking system we can snooze them, and the recruiter's responsibility is then in 3 or 6 months to re-contact them, to engage them, invite them to some of our events or something else. So this was something that we just didn't have time to focus on before. Yes, so now that our sourcers had more time on actually doing what they're really good at, they also started taking part of competitions and doing more self-development. So this picture here is from Sourcing Madness from Amsterdam. They went against, I think it was 74 teams, sourcing teams. They ended up in finals, and they actually won. So it was really inspiring for the whole team. Like they had been sourcing for all their career, but doing just focus sourcing for that time, I think 3 or 4 months. Like I said, we needed to keep each other updated. So was one of our agreements. So what we do is our sourcers actually go outside the building as well, like teach and train other recruitment teams. And this is a time when they just came back from a training. So we have in our room this kind of screen and desk, and they just gathered us up and told us what they were just telling to this other company. So keeping each other up to date is very important for us. Involving people. So it can happen that when you want to involve people, that on a briefing meeting, like on this picture, where this hiring manager is very happy with all these ladies, that there can be more than 2 recruiters, especially in this case, he had, of course, more than 1 roles that he wanted to recruit as well, but we don't compromise on first-hand information sharing, even if it feels crowded. Now, after 3 months, like I said, we agreed on a review. So I did this kind of questionnaire to check in how everyone are feeling with the setup, how everyone are feeling in their new role. And for my surprise, what turned out is, if you see here, you see that actually most of them, almost 90%, were really satisfied with the role that they now had. And only 1 person said that we should go back to the old system, which was actually really surprising because they were really skeptical about the setup. Another thing we did in 3 months is SOR workshop, as I call it. It's not the fancy methodology, just what I thought up. We went over the responsibilities that either sourcer or recruiter has, because by that time we had already figured out like there are always some things that you don't know who should be doing them when there are like changes and new roles, like should it be on recruiter's desk or should it be on sourcer's desk? So we identified the things that we don't know where they belong. For example, and we also realized by that the scope of the recruiter's job when they're doing from reach outs to closing is probably too big, because when the sourcer's workload were getting better, the recruiter's workload still was very heavy by that time. So we agreed that reach outs can be done by sourcers. But this is in the or section, so all the things that are in the or section has to be agreed in the beginning of the recruitment, within, like, between the sourcer and recruiter. To sum up, here are all the, maybe not all, but the main tools and technologies that we started using together with the split. So first the stand-ups. Yes, first we did it daily, then after 3 months we agreed that, okay, it's enough to use it, to do them twice a week. Then the planner, it's a really good tool actually. So if I really recommend to try either Planner or Trello for team, especially if you have cross-border team. Weekly hiring manager check-ins was something I think that they should be doing, like whatever setup you have, but now we set it as a rule, and as a rule, a sourcer and recruiter will join it. Monthly retrospectives, also retrospectives of the key recruitments with hiring managers. So you actually involve all the hiring team, also the specialists, the managers, and then the recruiters, and then analyze how it went. Priority check-ins is something that we implemented later. So even though we had stand-ups, there was still like question marks for sourcers, like what to, since sourcers are in Estonia, and the recruiters are in all 3 countries, like in Estonia, in Lithuania, and in Finland. So the sourcers had question like, okay, what do actually the Finnish recruiters need, and what do the Lithuanian recruiters need, because they are not in the same office sitting all the time. So they started having these Friday 15-minute check-ins to check the specific priorities for sourcing. A/B candidate marking, also something we implemented later, because if a sourcer finds 100 leads for your job, and as a recruiter you're going to check those leads, and you see that, okay, this one I can reach out right away, this candidate I can maybe reach out if I even want to reach out to them later, but the sourcers didn't get that information. So we started marking down, the recruiter started marking down which are the A candidates that she's going to reach out right away, and which are the B candidates that can be for plan B, and the ones that they didn't want to reach out, they archived. So pretty much the communication, like which is good candidate, which is not, came right away. And of course, like you need a discussion for that as well, between sourcer and recruiter, to understand each other. Because otherwise it's like 50 leads are sitting in the applicant tracking system, why should I source new leads? So this was actually really helpful. Yes, so we had the experiment, 6 months, 10 people in 3 countries. So what were the results? A month ago, on, it was, I think, 18th of September, a head of delivery of Estonia came to a TA room with candies and flowers. And he was telling us that, you know, guys, recruitment is no longer a bottleneck. And I think like this is the biggest thing that could happen. Because a year ago, this guy was very, very anxious. So we had done something right. For key roles, we now have pre-sourced pipelines, pre-sourced candidates, so we can actually kickstart the recruitment faster. The sourcer's workload, like I was saying, is very nice. They can do the competitions, advance themselves. The recruiters, at the moment, it's good actually. This week it was good, but it's still very seasonal, depending on the business needs. But we do, in general, have more time for quality and development projects, like developing our developers in interview skills, or developing our processes. So yes, we continue with the workshops. And what I didn't mention is one rule that we had is that after the 6 months period, if we continue with the setup, the sorcerers and recruiters can actually switch the roles between them, but they don't want to. So they are happy. And this is, well, you need motivated people to have good results, you know. But if you are thinking now that maybe we should try it, then here are some things that are my lessons learned, and I would say that what I recommend you to do if you think of doing an experiment like that. So first, I think that this trial period is necessary because there are a lot of skeptical parties, and you don't actually know if it's going to work for you or not. So take the pressure down and just try it out. But I would say that 6 months is minimum. Something that changes always raise question from involved parties, like, is it going to take more of my time? But I can say that for hiring managers who are mostly involved and influenced by recruiters' work, it doesn't change much. Only that they have maybe sometimes 4 people on their briefing meeting, but they are happy. Involve the whole team. One thing, as we did, but one thing what was my mistake probably was that the team wasn't involved so much in the process of the decision that we're going to try this. They were involved in the process of how the setup is going to be and how we're going to work then, but they actually should be involved in the decision phase already. It would be so much easier. Then, of course, the hardest part probably was that if you already have an existing team of end-to-end recruiters, who's going to take what role? It needed a lot of one-on-one talks. And you want to be prepared that not all the recruiters work out, suit this setup or want to work out with this setup. So we were lucky. We were really lucky because we had 2 brilliant sorcerers. We knew they are brilliant, and they were volunteering, okay, I can try it. At first, one girl wasn't that happy, but after 3 months, she was very happy. And regular reviews of the setup, because it's not something that's set in stone after you try it. You should do what's best or what's most effective and actually measure and review if it actually is most effective. And split is of course not the magical cure. Yes, it raises the efficiency, and I think if you have more than 5 recruiters, you could try it. But it raises also a lot of communication questions that needs to be addressed and solved. It's of course possible, but this is something that you should also think of. So all in all, for us it worked. We are continuing with the setup, and but we will probably review it in the beginning of the year, for example, if you want to continue with this again. So it also depends on the business, the situation. But if you want to try it, I really recommend it. So thank you. That's all from me.
Ну, как понятно было? So, any questions? Можно задать вопросы по-русски, кому удобнее. Я могу переводить. Разберемся с микрофонами. Так.
Наверное, лучше встать. Я благодарю вас за этот доклад. Он очень-очень интересный. Так. Благодарю, что вы так открыто поделились тем, что можно было бы улучшить.
Если, чтобы вы сразу же не абзац говорите, хорошо, вот на два предложения. Thank you very much for the talk, for your willingness to share your experience.
И у меня есть вопрос. А как изменилась мотивация у рекрутеров после того, как вы разделили процессы?
Did the motivation, the system of how did they get the salary change after the split? Before the split, you had one system of monthly salary for the recruiters. Did it change? Generally, do they have like fixed salaries, or you pay for the result, or what?
We have fixed salaries for sourcers and for recruiters. So for me, it's the same like in software development. A developer and QA, they are equal. So sourcer and recruiter, they are equal in my mind. But the thing is, like the salary, like always, it's connected with your experience, it's connected with your results, and this is like looked over individually. But we are considering a bonus system at the moment. We are talking about it, so we are figuring it out. But we will probably make it in a way that the whole team will benefit from the contracts. So when they make a contract in a team, I mean the recruiter and the sourcer, so they get the same amount of kind of bonus from that. This is the initial idea. We'll see.
Hello, Heleriin. Thank you so much again for your speech. So the question is not about the salary. My question is about KPIs. So the KPIs of the recruiters are always quite clear. What about the sources? How do you understand that your sourcer is a good to be sourcer?
This is a very good question. I have discussed this with my sourcers, like what would be, when do they feel actually the achievement as well? This is also a question. Like we can measure all the numbers, but when is, like for a recruiter it's easy, it's contract, it's always like the end line, the finish line. For a sourcer, like you might even forget the people that you sourced in the process, and then they end up in contract. So yeah, even though we want everyone to work for the same end goal, it's we don't measure so much the number of sourced leads, so we don't do that. It's of course, like you always get the feedback from recruiters, like were there good leads, were there enough leads, and it's mostly based on, yes, like how it's gonna look for the recruiter. Is it beneficial, the source leads? So for so far, we like. It's always like good to get this feedback. So sometimes I get this feedback like I couldn't find those leads and the sourcer did. So this is perfect. This is like the thing that also motivates the sourcer, like they tell me. And other times it's that the leads actually weren't what we were looking for. So then we know that we need to do something. So it's based on feedback at the moment.
Hi, very informative, thank you. So I have two questions. First is, what happened to that one person who wasn't happy with the experiment?
I made her a team lead.
Oh my God, that's a power move, okay. And the second question is, may I ask how many people is there in a company overall? So it's my understanding that there is a team of 10 HR specialists, like 3 sourcers, several recruiters, or how does it work? I just like kind of trying to work out the numbers.
In company, there are 150 people. In TA function globally, there are 19 people. So this is actually only the TA team that is covering Baltics, Nordics markets, and HR is separately.
Okay, so it's my understanding that since the experiment, the success rate got 20% higher. Is that correct? Thankfully, to what you've done.
20% is very specific.
Well, approximately, yeah.
yeah, the feedback and the results have gone much higher. Thank you.
Thank you a lot for your speech. I have a question about inbound candidates. Who is responsible for inbound candidates? Sourcers or recruiters?
So, sourcers check them,
Okay.
evaluate them initially, but then it goes like the regular process. So if there are good candidates, then recruiters take over.
Okay, but do you investigate some kind of inbound candidates for example, I don't know, maybe it's not a job ad, but some other channels, and do you have some of this, and who is responsible for advertisement?
We have a separate employer branding function. So the employer branding, head of employer branding is actually under marketing, but we work very closely. And yes, we advertise in social media, we have events, all of that, and the recruiters take part. And yeah, with for example, the people we meet on events that recruiters meet, yes, we call them then the talent pool candidates. So this is recruiters' responsibility.
Okay.
But if they are not like evaluated leads yet, then the sourcers check them.
Okay, thank you. And do you use any metrics for recruitment and for sourcing? And if they are divided or it's one metrics? I mean, for example, do you measure the quality of candidates that were sourced and how many candidates were taken to the process? So do you have any kind of metrics?
We don't, let's say that we can check those numbers, but we don't at the moment do that. So it's more important for me to, like, I know the quality based on the results, based on what will the recruiter say, do we need to source again, what is the hiring manager's feedback, and so on. So I base it at the moment on feedback.
Здравствуйте, спасибо большое за выступление. Это очень ценно, что с нами делится международным опытом.
Thank you for sharing your international experience with us.
И я хочу задать немного другой вопрос. Скажите, пожалуйста, а кто является вашими основными конкурентами? Я имею в виду внутри самой страны Эстонии или какие-то другие компании, либо другие страны? Вот это было бы очень интересно.
Конкурентами в каком смысле?
С точки зрения кандидатов, разработчиков.
When you do recruiting and search for candidates, what companies do you conquer with? Did you understand the question?
Yeah, so pretty much, do you mean who are our main competitors for talents? All the big IT companies, but it's mostly based on the technologies we use. So in Estonia, the companies that use Java a lot, because in most projects we use Java. But like, I'm thinking that what we are targeting, a lot of candidates who come to us are from corporation backgrounds, because like Nortal is like good. It's not a startup anymore. It's not a big corporate anymore. It's just good in the middle. So people come from banks, people come from corporate world, but also in the other way, like people come from startups because they want some kind of structure. Oh, I'm not sure if it answered your question. Do you want names of the companies? Because it's different in markets. Like in Finland, there are like local companies, like Siili, for example. I have no idea if anyone knows this company. In Estonia, there are totally different companies. In Lithuania, there are different companies. So it depends on the market.
So, okay. So let's thank Heleriin for her talk.